Guys, are you ready for rapid fire?
I'm always ready. I'm always ready. There it is. See? There's the gun.
Fire
Let's
away.
do it.
Starter's gun?
Yep, that's the 100-meter dash.
Okay. So, from Kenny Minchey's perspective, what are the pros and what are the cons for him to stay at Notre Dame if CJ Carr ends up being the starting quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pros are you get more time to develop into, a starting quarterback. He might not be completely ready right now, even if he gets the backup job here at Notre Dame. I don't think he might not be ready to go on and be a starter elsewhere. And so what you get is the opportunity to learn, develop your skills as a quarterback, and then, in my opinion, learn from one of the better or top tier offensive coordinators in the country, right? You still get to learn from a great mentor, and you still get to be a part of overall what's going to be a great team. And so even if you're not a starter in those situations, there's still a great opportunity to learn and then take what you've learned in your skills elsewhere and really have, a good solid year. I would say the only con is you waste a year of eligibility.
The pro is number one, and this is going to sound so old man of me. The number one pro is if he sticks around another year, he gets his degree. So that would be number one from an athletic standpoint.
I knew somebody would have to say the degree.
I got to say it. I'll throw it in there. Look, a Notre Dame degree is still very, very valid, right?
It was on my list. It was on my list.
There you go.
Farther down the list, but it's on my list.
That's fair. You're still one snap away from being the starter at Notre Dame, and I think that's an important piece to this whole puzzle. What are your guarantees if you pack up and leave? Are you guaranteed to be the starter wherever you go? Are you going to go to a team that has a chance at a national championship and be the starter? I don't know the answer to that because I don't know who's looking, right? There could be NIL implications where he could make more money going someplace else. I get that. But staying at Notre Dame, I think, can help him from a maturation process, from a development process, all of those different things. And I think they would be smart to work him into the game plan as well. And then if he is planning on going someplace else at some point in time, that's fine. But I just feel like he'd be better served sticking around. That's where I'm at.
So the pro for me, the biggest pro is like even if he ends up playing in 5 games this year, which would put him, over the red shirt limit, he's still got multiple years of eligibility remaining, and it's unlikely that he's going to transfer someplace else and start right away. Like if he were to leave right now, I highly doubt, and we kind of talked about this last year, with Riley Leonard and like why guys stay, why guys go. Like Steve Angeli has film. He's got actual game film that benefits him as he puts himself out there in the transfer portal. Now, Kenny Minchey basically has some mop-up snaps. He doesn't have the same thing. He's got a mop, a handful of that and some snaps from the blue gold game last week that he's put on film. So like he's still got eligibility left. He would, get to sit here, be in this offense, continue to develop. And there's just really, there's just nothing. I don't see it being a big benefit for him to jump right now because like while he could go someplace and compete for a job, he's still competing for a job someplace else, just like what he's doing here right now. To me, the biggest con, because you're more pros, you're going to continue to get some NIL money, like you're going to continue to get to be, part of a winning program that's going to bring you a lot of, profile. And I think that he will get some opportunities to get on the field this year, even if he's, already, I was distracted by this. I'm sorry. D-Hawk says, Kenny already had a red shirt. I'm not saying he gets to keep the red shirt. I'm saying he'll have multiple years of eligibility down the road. Like either way, whether he's under the limit or over the limit, whether he's under or over, like this season doesn't, it doesn't matter from an eligibility. I probably said that wrong. Like it doesn't matter either way from an eligibility standpoint. It's kind of a wash either direction. That's what I'm saying.
Because he's going to be a junior, right? So he's already had his red shirt. This is year 2 for him. And then he'll have 2 more years after this.
So he's still got 2 years after this year, no matter what, is what I'm saying. Yes. Yes, as DK says, he has 3 years left right now. Again, I'm sorry for the confusion, but my point is either way, he's going to have multiple, as I said before, multiple years of eligibility. I didn't say it any other way. I specifically said he's going to have multiple years of eligibility remaining after this year because I don't think that realistically he's going to transfer at the end of spring and have a chance to go someplace unless it's a like a a lower level program. I don't think that he's going to have an opportunity to go someplace and start right away someplace else. That's my point. And the only real con is he would not be the starter.
Right. I just don't know what kind of assertions he's going to have that he's going to be the starter at a team that has a chance to go to national championship, has a chance to go to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like that would have to be, if he's going to leave, then he needs to leave for a better situation, in my opinion, right? Not to be a backup someplace, because he could be the backup on a top 5 team right now if he ends up being in that spot, right? If he's the number 2 guy, he's the backup on a top 5 team, right? And so do you have an opportunity to be a starter on a top 10 team? Do you have an opportunity to be a backup on a top 10 team? Like what does that look like? You know what I just don't know. There's a lot of variables in there, and I think the grass isn't always greener. And that's the case right now.
So what about CJ Carr? What are his pros and cons, Vince?
I think it's a similar conversation, but the only difference is he's got another year of eligibility, right? So if he's behind Kenny Minchey, if he's the number 2 guy, I think, you could realistically look for a different opportunity because Kenny Minchey's got 3 years of eligibility, right? There's no guarantees that if CJ waits him out, that he's going to have an opportunity to be a starter at Notre Dame. And so it would be even more of a reason to jump in the portal because, okay, you can go be a backup someplace for a guy that has 1 year of eligibility left and then be the starter. So that's the way I would look at it if I was CJ Carr. Since he is a redshirt freshman, he's got all 4 years of eligibility left. I would try to go to a place where the path is a little bit easier to start.
Yeah, I think it would be a long list of cons for CJ Carr. He has a lot of eligibility remaining left. It's not like he's too deep into this program or this system. So I think starting new somewhere or fresh wouldn't be as nearly as hard. He doesn't have the degree thing, over his head of nearing the completion of that. So if I'm CJ Carr and I don't get named the starter, I would immediately put my name in the transfer portal just because he has every aspiration and skill set to be a starter somewhere. And he was, both these guys were highly recruited. CJ Carr was more so highly recruited coming out of high school. So I think being younger too definitely adds to the list of cons. So to me, there's really no pros if Kenny Minchey got named the starter for CJ Carr.
To stay. No pros. Yeah, I agree. Like the Kelly Bryant thing a few years back at Clemson, and like Jaden Mickey this past year, like leaving before he burned his red shirt, making sure that he, preserved the season of eligibility. It's almost like you stay, you stay with the team until once you're butting up against the limit, the 4 games, then it becomes a business decision, right? If you're not the starting quarterback, that's kind of how it feels like. And maybe it's like that for Minchey as well, for either of these guys. But yeah, because he's younger, like you don't have all these other factors, to think about. So I really see, no true pros, for him staying. I mean, everything is just, all the cons are you're not the starter and you're burning up a year of eligibility. And I mean, obviously everyone kind of came in thinking that CJ Carr is like going to be a 3-year and then declare for the draft by after his junior year type guy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hate to say it because, of course, I want him to potentially be the quarterback at Notre Dame. So even having this discussion is a little depressing. But, yeah, I would leave if I was him.
Scale of 1 to 10, what chances do you give Steve Angeli to land at a Power 4 school?
Man, we just freaking stir this bad boy up. I give this thing a 3 out of 10. I think that he's got a worse than 50-50 shot. I think that I said it yesterday on social media. anyone who thinks he's going to Tennessee, you are drinking some very delusional Kool-Aid. I think Power 4 is even a stretch. And if he does go to a Power 4, he's just going to be a backup again. If he wants to truly be a starter, I think he is a MAC quarterback.
You don't think he could start at Illinois, Northwestern? Wow, you are selling him awfully short. I absolutely do. He could. It's high for me. I think he absolutely goes to a Power 4 team. I think it's going to be a lower level, like Big Ten, type team, and I think that's fine. And he will be a starter, and he will be Steve Angeli. So I absolutely think he'll go Power 4, 100%.
I mean, I think, like you look at there are 3 teams on Notre Dame's schedule: Syracuse, Boston College, 4 teams actually. Pitt, they started a freshman last year, Eli Holstein, and he was injured. He's kind of the presumed guy, but that's obviously back in Angeli's home area. Boston College, Stanford. I think any of those schools Angeli could go in and have an opportunity. Now, again, as John Christophic says, Rutgers. That's one that's come up quite a bit. TD4ND says Purdue. And I thought about Purdue as well. They brought in, a couple guys, and it seems like they're fairly set in who they think the starting quarterback is going to be. And I mean, that's got to be the biggest thing that Angeli eyes in this whole thing is, where do I have a chance to go and start right away?
Depth chart.
That's what he's got to be looking at, is what the depth chart looks at. The question was, what chances do we give Angeli to land at a Power 4 school? I give this a 9 because I absolutely, as I said yesterday, as a compliment to him, he thinks he should be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame. Correct. That's the mental mindset that you want everyone to have. And he's going to think that he's going to go someplace and start for another Power 4 team. So, it's a 9 for me. I think that he's going to end up playing for another Power 4 school. I don't think it's going to, it's going to be kind of the level that I just touched on there, those kind of schools, whether it's Stanford, Boston College, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, like that level, that's, I think Angeli's got a really great chance of that.
Friendly wagers, anyone?
Oh, 100%. What do you want to wager? Because the question is on a Power 4 roster, correct?
Yes, that's all it is, on a Power 4 roster.
I don't think he's going to a Power 4 team unless he knows he is definitely the starter. Why would you just go to a place to sit somewhere again?
But he will be a starter because he's better than a lot of the quarterbacks that are in the Power 4 right now.
I respectively disagree.
Okay.
You are
I think we both think you're wrong. But
that's why I said friendly wager.
Well, what do we want to wager? Look,
he's better than Ian Book.
Ooh.
Yeah, I said it. Nobody can say I'm a Steve Angeli hater. I think he's
Steve Angeli would have been the all-time winningest quarterback at Notre Dame if he had been here 5 years earlier.
Yeah, because the quarterback room sucked.
See, Sly Fox says if Pine can, Steve for sure. But the thing is, Pine actually had a full season on tape. That's still a part of this. Angeli had mop-up duty in a crappy bowl game and a little bit of a
it's like a Matt Flynn situation. I don't know if you remember Matt Flynn, like Seattle Seahawks quarterback, he comes in, and Scott Mitchell, the guy with the Miami Dolphins. It's like a guy, Brock Osweiler for the Denver Broncos a few years back. Guy comes in, plays for the injured quarterback, puts a little bit on film, and parlays it into a big free agent contract. It's basically the same thing for Steve Angeli. He's got that on film, and it's going to land him someplace. Someone is going to see 100%. That, and they're going to covet that, and they're going to think that he can be the guy.
Here's what they're going to look at. He's got over 700 yards passing. He's got 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he came in the Orange Bowl and led him down to a scoring drive. That's all, and he was amazing in the Sun Bowl. It's all people are going to look at. That's his film. And everybody at Notre Dame is going to be like, yeah, he's a great kid. He's a leader. He's great on and off the field. All of those things. He's going to be in a Power 5 roster, no doubt in my mind.
If he does, I will buy Vince and his entire family dinner
You know
Man.
I have 5 kids, right?
Yeah,
That's why
no
I said
kidding.
the entire family.
Where are we
Wow.
going for dinner? Where are we going for dinner? Like,
Culver's is being
I'll be at the
DoorDash
Dario.
to Vince's house.
I'll take Culver's. That's fine. Let's go.
And Flip, anything that you and Mom want on DoorDash, I'll do that with you guys.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
I see some pizza coming up in my future. So he's going to be on a Power 4 team. Like,
we'll see.
Because, like, whether or not it's realistic that, he can be the starting quarterback, in his mind, he thinks he is. And that's why he's going to end up on a Power 4 team. He's not going to settle transferring away from Notre Dame. He's going to have plenty of Power 4 teams talking to him. And in his mind, he thinks he's going to go be the guy. This doesn't mean he has to be the starter. It just has to mean that's where he's transferring to a Power 4 team.
And then in return, each of you owe me a wing dinner.
Okay.
Fair. Totally fair.
Doesn't matter what you name because we're not going to have to pay it.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm pretty much
buying a lot of food for us.
I would have agreed to just about anything at this point. Hey, I did say yesterday, if he wanted to transfer to Hillsdale, I would personally drive him up to Hillsdale, Michigan, and lay out the party in the red carpet. Like no doubt about that. So, yeah. So, Steve, if you're listening, let's go. Let's roll.
All right, here we go. So the NCAA has approved a new rule that's going to take effect this season. It's designed to curtail players faking injuries. This is one that's been, kind of kicked around. They kicked the can for a while on what the rule was going to be. So under this new rule, if medical personnel are forced to enter the field of play to evaluate an injured player after the ball is spotted by the officiating crew, that player's team will be charged a timeout. If that team doesn't have any remaining timeouts, it'll be a 5-yard delay of game penalty. Buy or sell this new rule.
You want this one, Jesse? Because I feel like this is a layup.
This is a huge buy for me. They needed to find ways to prevent these. I mean, you saw it in like every Ole Miss game last season. Lane Kiffin was like the master of kind of finding the loophole in this situation. Guys go down and it's, oh, I'm cramping, and then they take the unofficial timeout, and then the guy comes off, and then immediately he's back in. It's obvious he wasn't hurt, right? And so my whole thing with this is, if you go down hurt, you should be able to sit one play. And now if you're caught, basically faking an injury, I do think that you should be punished. And I think a timeout or a penalty is perfectly warranted.
But it's not if you're caught. It's if you get knocked silly during a game.
You heard any of this right? Yeah,
and you're out, and you are actually injured, and they bring somebody out to check on you. You lose a timeout and
automatically
yards.
If someone has to come out and check on you, you're going to lose a timeout.
I hate this. This is awful. Yeah. I agree. They needed to do something. This isn't it. This is not it, because if somebody's legitimately injured, you are penalizing your team. So you're going to have guys trying to like drag a leg off the field.
You're going to be losing timeouts for legitimately in everyone who has.
I don't think it's going to be this dramatic. They're not going to penalize guys.
But that's the rule.
It literally says, Jesse,
that's the rule.
If medical personnel have to come onto the field of play to evaluate you, you're going to lose a timeout. That's why this is a huge sell.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think we're just taking this a bit too literally. I think they're trying to find ways for the fake injuries, and obviously, if someone is seriously hurt, no, if someone's seriously hurt, I don't think that this isn't what they're aimed to.
But I don't think they get the chance to make that decision. Like, referees don't get to make that choice.
Right.
If they come out, you lose.
We don't get to wait 5 minutes and go, wow, he was legitimately hurt, so now we can give him that timeout back. That's based on this. That's not what they're going to do. That's why I don't get why you would institute a rule like this. It just seems like they've taken it too far. Going back to the last question about Angeli, Brian says, how's that line of thinking? How did it work out for Pine and Buckner? Well,
doesn't matter how it worked out.
Doesn't matter how it worked out.
I'm going to be eating free Culvers while he sits the bench. That's what's going to happen.
Again, it doesn't matter what any of us think. It's what Steve Angeli thinks, and it's also what the coaches, who are, potentially, offering him a scholarship.
So-
and I think he's going to get plenty of offers, and I think Angeli's going to take one of them.
So looking at this whole like injury thing, right? Is there a loophole here? It's like if a head coach comes out, do you still lose your timeout, or does it have to be like an actual trainer that comes out? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, is that a loophole?
That's a good question. Because like if your players help you off the team, then medical
Right.
staff or off the field, then medical staff hasn't come out on the field.
Man,
To
I'd
me,
be
what
running
this
drills.
feels like is when they spot the ball, play is getting ready to run, and then someone just drops to the ground because they don't want the play to run. That's how I interpreted this.
Well, that's what you're trying to curtail, but there are going to be
No, but the if
legitimately
spotted thing is what leads me to that.
So what you're saying is if a guy goes down because of the play, they're already down before the ball is snapped.
Yes.
So
yes.
are
The ball
placed
was
or
never
spotted.
re-spotted.
So you think that refs are going to slow play spotting the ball to maybe if a guy's actually injured?
Yes, and I think this is to when the ball is spotted, referee gets away from the center, he blows the play live, and now someone just all of a sudden falls down out of nowhere. That's what I think this more or less is.
I could see that. But I could also see coaches being pissed off in a 2-minute drill that the refs aren't spotting the ball quick enough because there might be an injury. You know what I
And
mean?
so I do believe the hair is very, or the hair,
Yeah.
the rule
what
is
you're
very
saying.
hairy. There's a fine line, a slippery slope on this.
Oh, it's definitely slippery. I'm in on that. I'm
Me
in on
too.
that part for sure. All right, a couple more questions before we wrap up. Lee Corso is going to retire after 38 years of doing College Game Day on ESPN. We talked about it a little bit in We In, We Out. He's going to make his final picks, don the headgear one more time on game days, first show of the season on August 30th. So my question to you guys, when Corso was in his prime, where do you rank him among the best studio analysts of all time in any sport? And I'm not talking about the Tony Romo's, Chris Collinsworth. I'm not talking
Like
about
studio guys,
game
yeah.
analysts. I'm talking about the studio show guys, the pregame show, the postgame, whatever kind of guys.
I'm the hater of the bunch. I'll let you go first, Jess.
See, the issue is I don't have a good recall on a lot of these names. And so when I think of college football,
It's not just college football, it's any sport. So
right. I mean, do we consider like Mike Tirico during the Olympics as a in-studio analyst?
Well,
You know
he's
what
a
I mean?
host. He's not an analyst. We're mostly talking like former coaches, former players. I mean, the easy one is Charles Barkley. That should be hitting you in the face because you're like the NBA guy. And literally, I think Charles Barkley is the standard bearer. I think that he is the best studio analyst of all time.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Charles Barkley, Lee Corso.
This is actually tougher than I thought because I came up with the question and then started trying to think of some of the other ones. Like some of the ones I came up with, like Jimmy the Greek. This is obviously way before
That's way
Jesse's time,
before
and probably
my time,
even before
too.
Vince's time. Like
Yeah.
Jimmy the Greek was, like one of the originals. Like the NFL on CBS or whatever that original show was called. Like Jimmy the Greek brought just a different perspective. Part of being like a guy who stands out in this role is both, having the opinion, but also having the entertainment value. And I think that, again, like that's where Charles Barkley comes in. That's where a guy like Jimmy the Greek comes in. I think that not as much Terry Bradshaw today, but probably earlier Terry Bradshaw when he was in the studio, he was really good. Jimmy Johnson was really, good. Howie Long, really good, like those kind of guys. But I would put Corso right in that mix. I think that he is probably at the very least top 3, top 4. And again, I'm talking in his prime, Lee Corso, both the ability, to have an opinion because he was a lot harder edged, back, like probably 20, 30 years ago, NFL today. Thank you, Brian NY, 20, 30 years ago than what he is right now. And then obviously you add the entertainment value, with the headgear and the whole thing.
He was very entertaining. Like, he was must-see TV in the 90s and early 2000s. And, the Not So Fast, My Friend, and like all that kind of stuff. So he's top 3 for me as a studio analyst because the list just isn't that long, as you stated. And he's a guy that I could come up with right off the top of my head without any problem whatsoever. He's better than all the other guys that are on that desk when he was in his prime. If we're talking about College Game Day, he's better than the guys that were on College Game Day for basketball. He's better than all of those guys too. So I think he's top 3 all time. So regardless of my thoughts about when he should have hung it up, I think that he was absolutely excellent. And he set the market for studio analysts and, the shtick of the headgear and like all that. Like that was cutting edge at the time. You know what I mean? And we make fun of it to a degree, but at the same time, that was cutting edge. And everybody wanted to see who did Corso, what headgear did he put on? Like all that, like that was legitimate must-see TV back before the internet. You know what I mean? So like, I'm all in on this. I think he is top 3, and I can't even think of a 1 and a 2. I just want to say that to give myself some breathing room.
Salty is saying Lou Holtz, and look, we all love Lou Holtz, but to me, it was
the Mark May Lou Holtz thing was too much. It
was just too much shtick, is what it was. There wasn't enough actual analysis. I don't think there was just too much shtick. Ultimately, it was hard for a lot of people to take him seriously.
After doing a little bit of recon, I would like to give an honorable mention to my man Harold Reynolds at the MLB Network. I think
it's a good one.
I think he does a great job in the studio, especially between games. And MLB Network cuts between a lot of games when games are going on. And I think he's terrific at analyzing the games, short to the point, and is good for the overall fan experience. And has been doing it for a long time as well.
Yeah, no, he was good. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Used to be really good as well, back when Kruk was doing it for ESPN before they let him go. But, again, like another victim of the gradual downsizing of the baseball presence on ESPN. Like he's a Phillies game analyst now, but Kruk was really good back then when he was with Harold Reynolds for a while on Baseball Tonight and all that kind of stuff. Reese Davis, by the way, said he's going to tackle anyone besides Corso who tries to put on the headgear.
On the show. So that's bold. Yeah. I think they should retire the headgear thing. That's the respect they should show for Lee Corso. Like, it just needs to be retired after he does it. Like, you're done. It's over. Yeah. It was a good run. It's his thing.
Don't need to do it anymore. That's right. All right, final question tonight. The NFL is making Christmas Day games a permanent thing going forward. The Kansas City Chiefs wanted to be the permanent Christmas Day team, but the NFL shot that down, so there won't be fixed teams like the Cowboys and the Lions on Thanksgiving. My question, would you guys wanted to have had the Chiefs as a permanent fixture on Christmas Day games?
I like the tradition of the Thanksgiving games and knowing that, whether you hate them or not, the Cowboys, Lions are always going to play on Thanksgiving. And I don't mind it on Christmas. I don't mind football on the holidays. It gives you something to do after, being around family all the time and eating and opening presents. It's just everyone can just sit down, relax, and watch a football game. And if you're going to pick a team to do it, why not the Chiefs? I mean, they've been the most dominant team in the NFL the last decade. And maybe that makes you hate them, but at least, you're going to be entertained with Patrick Mahomes and watch some good football on Christmas.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's only going to be Patrick Mahomes for so long, and then at some point Patrick Mahomes retires, and then you've got 8 decades of the Detroit Lions, playing on Thanksgiving Day, so yeah.
Okay, there's a couple points to this, right? So I'm absolutely out on the Kansas City Chiefs being the permanent team on Christmas Day. Could not be more out. They're the flavor of the day. Like I don't want them in there. I'm not a fan of the Chiefs, obviously, but I don't want them to be the permanent holder of that spot. I love football on Christmas Day. I think that's a great idea. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I like watching football on the holidays. As Jesse said, I'm not going to throw my parents under the bus like he just did. But I do very much like football on Christmas Day. I think, and it's different than the Lions and the the Lions and the Cowboys had to be talked into doing it back when it first started, and they're being rewarded now for taking that chance and always having that game. The
Mhm.
Chiefs just want to capitalize on it. Like
Right.
there's a difference there.
You want to capitalize on their
Right.
popularity right now. And
Right. And
always
I'm-
be, have that.
Yeah, I'm out on that. I'm out on them trying to capitalize from it because there's only positives right now. When the Lions and the Cowboys did it, there was a lot of potential negatives there.
Well, and I'm sure I think the Chiefs actually, if I remember right, like they wanted to be one of those teams as well.
Sure.
Either the Cowboys or the Lions, basically playing the Thanksgiving games, and they didn't get to. So,
Right.
they're trying to kind of swipe some of that back right now. And
Oh,
I
sure.
agree. Like I don't think you need a permanent team. I think that you do. You just keep rotating it every year, and you've got 6 different teams on Christmas Day every year. I like the fact, that they're not going to that they're not going to fix one team.
Yeah.
That.
Yep.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for today from all locations.
What a
Appreciate
roller
that we
coaster
have
of
questions.
emotions on
What's
this
that?
show. So what a roller coaster of emotions on this show.
For you.
It was an odd day. It was a very odd day.
Hey, this is perfect timing. They're literally about to shoot the gun for my kid's race. So this is perfect.
All right. Excellent. Hit the like button. Have a great weekend. Have a great Easter weekend. By the way, I guess I had one more question to ask you guys since it is Easter weekend.
That's right.
Your Easter meal. Ours is steak. We have gone to steak in recent years. Like we've ditched the traditional ham and all that stuff. We're big steak on the grill. What's your go-to Easter meal?
Omelet Station. We go out to eat. So
Ooh,
Omelet Station
omelet.
all day long.
I like it.
I haven't had a traditional Easter dinner in what feels like a while, and neither of me or my fiance are of religious backgrounds. So I would just say I like a good ham and deviled eggs on Easter or grilling out.
We do the deviled eggs, as you know, with the steak as well. That's one of the side items that we have. And usually like some of the scalloped potatoes or something like that. All right, everybody have a great Easter weekend. We will talk to you next week. IB Nation Sports Talk.